Hello and welcome to Wembley Stadium. It's very quiet here at the moment. Not a soul here except myself and my camera carrier. Yes, very quiet time in sport, darts and a bit of horse racing. And to be honest with you, neither of them is going to feed your family. So I thought I'd just give a few words on a subject that's been thrown around there in my presence in the last couple of months as to who is the greatest soccer manager of all time. I think anything like greatest. I mean, it's all subjective. We all have our own greatest, and stick to it. Stick to your view. There's no one right or wrong in this. Who you like, who you don't like, whatever. But I just saw Pepe, the great Pepe, Mr. Guardiola, being asked that question. He was straight in there with Sir Alex, Sir Alex Ferguson. Now it's Sir Alex, which is nice. Not Ferguson or Alex or whatever. And of course, Pepe himself would probably be thinking if Alex was asked the question, he'd probably say Pepe Guardiola, you know? But for those of us of a certain vintage, I think we laugh at that because it's all about money now and how much money you have to spend. And with the likes of Ferguson, who I'll get back to later, and Guardiola, they had the money was never short, really. If I ask myself the question, who's the greatest manager of all time, I think it's, in my mind, very clear. It's the great and the only Brian Clough. You know, Clough. I grew up at his time when watching Nottingham Forest playing fantastic football, which people tend to forget about Clough. His teams did play wonderful stuff, not tippy tappy Guardiola style. Our stuff, nice stuff on the ground, and probably were the best counter-attacking team I've seen. But the fact with Clough is that to do twice what he did, to go to Derby, who'd never won anything really, down in the second tier as it is now, the Championship, or it was then the second division, and not doing much, and to get them to be league champions when not we tend to think everything happened automatically for Clough. It didn't. There was a lot of work there, and building the foundations. But they were champions, league champions within what I don't know, 3-4 years of him coming there. And quite an achievement. I think he wanted. If you look at his autobiography, he wanted to stay there. Really, he was very sad he had to leave Derby, and possibly, and I think maybe Derby fans might agree with me that if Clough had stayed, it was they who would have won the European Cups, not Forest, because I think Derby had possibly a stronger base than Forest had at that time anyway. But as you say, what he did with Forest is quite extraordinary because he comes when they're nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Hadn't been heard of either. Very small club, and again in the second division. Again, it takes him a few years to get the signings right and whatever. And of course, Peter Taylor was a huge help there. But again, I guess if you were to say to anyone in Nottingham when he joined, and a couple of years later when they're floundering in the second division, that there would be not only would they win the first division, but they would be European champions within 2 or 3 years, they would have died of a heart attack. It's beyond belief. I mean, I cannot see Pepe Guardiola doing anything like that. I mean, Clough had that ability to make, in a sense, the phrase "make a silk purse out of a sow's ear." I mean, he bought Kenny Burns from Birmingham for Forest, and at the time, Kenny Burns was quite a good striker, still second division, but not a bad one. And within a little over a year, Burns was Player of the Year at centre back. People like John O'Hare, John McGovern, these people who in another system, under another manager with another club, would never have been heard of, and they're European champions. So, yeah, it's of course Clough wasn't perfect in any sense, but not just that being a manager who could make something out of nothing, but also the way he played, and also his personality, which was he was always, entertaining. Let's put it that way, and said his piece and said it very well. I think we'd all, even just looking at there last night, because it's a very famous story of the Roy Keane often tells of giving a bad back pass in one of his early games, and Clough laid him out when he came into the dressing room, just hit him. That happened now. Clough would be in court, but to be fair to Keane, Keane accepted, because it also goes to show the respect, people would have for someone like Clough, and not mean to be boring, but he's there. He's number one. So if we go to number two, I mean, again, it's all subjective. I mean, I think Jose Mourinho, for what he did with both Porto and then with Inter, winning European Cups with them, with small clubs like that. Porto, I mean, very few. Definitely Porto are the last Portuguese team to win it, and Inter as well. I think maybe only the last Italian team to win it. So Jose, I think the problem with Jose was he was probably better off with a small club. Once you got to the big ones like Real Madrid and Chelsea, maybe the pressure got to be a little bit too much for him. I don't know, but and if you want number three, I would go back to Alex, but I wouldn't go back to Alex for his achievements at United, all those leagues, and of course a couple of European Cups. Again, the money was there, but I go back to what he did at Aberdeen, which is quite incredible, winning a European trophy. I think maybe beating Real in the final. Aberdeen, that is, that can never be taken away from him. But overall, as I'd say to any of you, look, all I'd say to you is make your opinion of what you think yourself and stick with it. Don't bother about mine. It's all just opinions. And with that, we're going back now to the darts. Seemingly it's getting very exciting at the moment. Don't know myself, it's just my wife's mad into it and wants to have a look at it. So, good night now and God bless.